Hi and welcome to Candyfloss Crochet. Today I am going to show you how to attach a item, so what we call an applique, to a granny square. You could be attaching anything from, say, a little leaf or a swirl flower, as I've got here, or a character that you've made, but you want to attach it to a blanket, and what you don't want to do is see the stitches on the reverse of your blanket or your square. So to actually attach it, you will need obviously your piece of work, your blanket, some scissors, a darning needle and some pins. So let's get started. So the first thing I do, usually with a lot of work you have a center one, and I want it dead center in here. So I'm just going to thread my center end. When you create anything and you know you're going to attach it, try and leave a nice long end for weaving in and attaching if you can. So that's more or less in the center. I'm just going to take it more into the center just so that it lines up nice and neat. So that's back in the center there, as you can see, and I'm going to find the center hole in my square, and I'm just going to, using my darning needle, just hook under the stitches so it comes out roughly into that middle one. Just going to pull that through, pull my end through. I'm going to take, make sure that's lined up, so that should, if you can see there, be lined up now in the middle. Make sure I'm happy with that, and I'm going to get some pins, and I'm just going to pop a couple of pins in just to hold it in place in case I move it when I'm stitching it down. I'm going to go back and turn my work round. I'm just going to take up this edge, so I've got the other end in the way. Let's get that one out of the way, and I'm going to go in here. And I'm just going to catch the back of these stitches here, pull that down, move it round and hook into a stitch just underneath, pulling that through. And I'm going to work round, it's quite fiddly to show you on camera, grabbing the back of the stitch and then grabbing the top of the stitch on the blanket or granny square that you're attaching it to. You don't need to do necessarily too many, because I'm going to be anchoring around all these points here, so it's just to anchor it down into the middle. Just going to do one more. I'm going to take my pin out now so I can get around to that other side. I'm going to go through half a stitch here and take half a stitch on the granny square below and pull it tight. So you could work all the way round, and that will anchor your flower, if you like, to the center. When you've done that, you just need to weave in your end. I'll show you how to do that in a minute. So I'm now going to show you how to do the edges. So I've got a reasonably long end, but I don't think, in all honesty, that's going to be long enough to get me all the way around. So what I'll do a couple with you, and then I'll show you how to join on your next yarn. So I'm going to pop my pin back in so that it doesn't move. I'm just going to pop another one in this side. Doesn't matter how many you put in or however many you feel comfortable with. And just one down in here, it says where I want it to be. My end is here. Get my little yellow one out of the way. And my darning needle. I am just going to thread my yarn onto my darning needle. And starting in this edge here, I'm just going to take my thread, because I finished up here and I want it to be as close to the granny square below, so I'm just going to weave my needle into part of my flower to move my yarn down to the bottom. And then what you're looking for is to grab half a stitch from the square or the blanket you're attaching it to. So when you lay the leaf down, you can see where it's going to fit, so you just need to grab it roughly underneath so that you're not going into the edge. Pull that one down, Then try and get the back loop of your stitches. So if you're looking at your V's along the top here, you want to try and get a back loop. Pull that one up. I'm going to go to this one here. That's going to be covered. And then I'm going to go into the back loop of this one. I've reached a point. So I know the point's going to come all the way up here. I'm just going to anchor it into this half a stitch. So as you can see, you can't see my needle coming through at the back here. And then I'm going to catch that loop up the top, just to anchor that point down, turning it around as I go. That one will be covered, so if I go in here, oh, it's unthreaded. Okay, so I just need to anchor that one down. So I'm going to go into here. Go into this loop here. I need to come back into the work. So my next one's going to be into the back loop just down here. Back into my granny square. Back into half the stitch. So you're only going through like half a stitch or one actual piece of yarn, not the whole stitch itself. Coming down to that point there. So I'm going to try and find a stitch underneath here. Don't want two, just that one. Keep that in place. Twisting it round slightly. Going to catch the back loop of the stitch. Of that round, and you're just bending it out slightly just to get those stitches that are going to be hidden from view, anchoring those down as you go. And as you go around, you can slowly remove your pins. So as you can see now, this one's completely anchored down. Don't really need to do much with the middle. The middle's already been anchored down, and I would have normally weaved that in. So if you get to a point where inevitably, when I've gone all the way around, I'm going to run out of yarn, you need to get another piece of yarn, so make sure you've still got some spare. If you thread that onto your needle, let's turn it around so you can see. So I'm just going to join at a point, hopefully where you won't see. So I'm going to go right down underneath and just pick a stitch. I put all the way through, but I'm going to leave an end, and then I'm just going to pick up where I left off, grab a stitch behind, pull that in, and just holding your end, just pull it a bit tighter, and then carry on. Back loop on this one, pick a stitch from underneath, back loop on the next one on my petal, and carry on working round. When you get to the end, you're going to have your end bit, and you just need to weave that in as though you were ending a row when you're doing normal crochet. So in this particular case, I'm just going to weave it in amongst all these stitches here. Pull that one through, pull it tight, and then weave back along, picking up different stitches just to tighten it off. And once I'm confident you can do that as many times as you like, probably 3, 4 times maximum. Depends how loose your stitches are. Once you've got to the point you think that's woven in nicely, you can pull your yarn needle out and just snip off your end. And that's how I join appliques to my granny squares. Thanks for watching.